Students, today we will discuss about hard magnetic materials, and this class is important for third sem diploma electrical students. So we will discuss about hard magnetic materials. The hard magnetic materials are used for permanent magnets. As we know that the material which are of permanent in nature, so there we can use hard magnetic materials. Now, the desired property of material required of permanent magnets are high saturation value. So their saturation values should be higher where hard magnetic materials are required. Now, yes, they should have high coercive forces, residual magnetisms, typical hysteresis loops for soft and hard magnetic materials as in the figure. So here you can see there are three diagrams shown, or your screen displays you three diagrams. So here hysteresis losses for different magnetic materials are shown. In it is seen from the figure that the product of BH for a hard magnetic material is high compared to that of soft magnetic material. In a hard magnetic material, it is difficult to orient the domains as compared to the soft magnetic materials. Thus, it is difficult to magnetize a hard magnetic materials. The coercive force is large and hence the material is magnetically hard. In a hard magnetic material, the domain walls may be absolutely immobile. A soft magnetic material such as silicon steel, soft magnetic material such as permalloy, and hard magnetic metals. So let us discuss about carbon steel, tungsten steel, and cobalt steel. Now, in soft magnetic materials cannot be used for making permanent magnet because they have narrow hysteresis loop. It has been said that when carbon is added to a material, its hysteresis loop area increases. So already we have discussed about the area of the hysteresis loop. So that's why in early days carbon steel was used for permanent magnets. Although it is cheap, magnets made from carbon steel lose their magnetic properties very fast under the influence of knocks and vibration. When materials like tungsten, chromium, or cobalt are added to carbon steel, its magnetic properties are improved. Cobalt steel has exceptionally superior magnetic properties, but it is expensive. Alnico. Now, students, this Alnico is, you can say, aluminum, nickel, iron, cobalt are commercially the most important of the hard magnetic material. Large magnets are made of special casting techniques. So they are made up of special casting techniques, and small ones are powder metallurgy. So by powdering them, and then they manufacture this small magnets. As compared to cobalt steel, it is cheaper also. Alnico is exceptionally hard magnetic material. Due to this reason, nowadays permanent magnet are most commonly used for Alnico. So you can find this Alnico for most of the applications. High quality temperature magnets uh, are used in many electrical engineering appliances. Example, in various electrical measuring instruments. Hard ferrites. Now hard ferrites like BaO Fe2O3 whole 6 are used for the manufacture of lightweight permanent magnets due to their low specific weight. So students, this concludes this chapters. You just try to solve this model questions, and in this next chapter we will discuss is about material for special purpose. So material for special purpose will start today itself. So let us introduce this chapter. So in the section 1.1, that is the beginning of this chapter, that some materials are used in electrical engineering appliances perform secondary functions. Now, consider for instance structure materials like poles and tower for distribution and transmission of electric power. So, you might have seen the transmission of electric power in uh, the outskirts of the city. So, what are these materials made of? So, we will discuss all those things in this chapter. We will also discuss about the armoring of cables, bitumen cable, joint boxes, underground cable. These materials do not perform the primary function of the concerned equipment, yet without their use, the primary function could not be accomplished efficiently. An electrical installation in conduit wiring would entail a considerable percentage of total cost out towards material like the conduit, clamps, nails, etc., which will only perform secondary function. Yes. So now in underground cables, the combined cost of materials performing the primary function of conduction and insulation is less than the cost of material used for secondary function. Such materials are therefore assumed to be of great importance. Apart from the structural and protective functions mentioned above, there are some special functions which are required to be performed in order to achieve a particular operation in practice, for which again materials are required. So, structural materials. Let us start with the structural material. By the word structural material or structure, we know the structure of any uh, thing, or you can say any transmission line can be called as structure. So cast iron, steel, timber, reinforced concrete are the common materials used for this purpose. So we can use any of the material which I have just told. So depending upon the type and the area where it has to be installed, the particular type of material has to be chosen by the concerned engineer. So cast iron is used as material for the frames of small and medium sized electrical machines. So where electrical machines, you have to choose material for electrical machine, you have to choose cast iron. Steel finds it used in fabricated frames for large electrical machines, tanks for transformers, fabrication of transmission towers, and a large number of other applications. Timber and reinforced concrete are commonly used poles for overhead lines. What do you mean by timber? That are woods. And what are reinforced concrete? So, students, it is actually a civil engineering term which you should know also. By applying this concrete along with some rod, you can say this by the help of both concrete and rod, we can call the combined material to be a reinforced concrete. So, timber and reinforced concrete are commonly used for poles for overhead lines. Protective materials. Now, lead. Lead is a soft, heavy, bluish gray metal. It is highly resistant to many chemical action but can corrode by nitric acid, acetic acid, lime, and rotten organic substance. The electrical conductivity of lead is only 7.8% of that of copper. Lead and its compound are toxic. As lead is mechanically weak, it cannot withstand vibration at high temperature. So, this is a drawback of lead. In the field of electrical engineering, lead is used in storage batteries and as sheathing of cables. What do you mean by sheathing of cables, students? Here, sheathing means the covering of the cables, or you can say the outer part of the cable is made up of sheath. Pure lead cable sheaths are liable to fail in service due to formation of cracks formed because of vibration, because they cannot, or they are very poor in case of their mechanical strength. So they are not liable to I mean for they cannot replace this copper. This difficulty can be eliminated by the use of lead alloyed with antimony, tin, cadmium, and copper. So, if we uh, have to eliminate this drawback, we have to make alloys along with antimony, tin, cadmium, and copper with your lead. Now, lead alloys easily with tin and zinc and forms many commercial alloys including solders and bearing metals, steel tapes, wires, and strips. Steel tapes, wires, and strips are commonly used as protective material for mining cables, underground cables, weatherproof cables, etc. Now, bitumen. Bitumen is used for the protection against corrosion. Other materials. Thermocouple materials. When two wires of different metals are joined together, an EMF exists across the junction, which is dependent on the type of metal or alloys used and also directly proportional to the temperature of the junction. When one tries to measure this EMF, more junction are to be made, which also will give rise to EMF. When all the junctions are at the same temperature, the resultant EMF will not be zero. This resultant EMF is proportional to the temperature difference of the junction and is called thermoelectric effect. So, students, you should remember what is thermoelectric effect. The resultant EMF proportional to the temperature difference of the junction is called as your thermoelectric EMF. The EMF produced by the thermocouple is very small, but it can be measured with reasonable accuracy by a sensitive moving coil millivoltmeter, which can be calibrated in terms of temperature. As mentioned earlier, the thermocouples are made of different materials. The materials are used will depend upon the range of temperature to be measured. So let us discuss about the material used for thermocouples. So cold junction is at 10 degrees centigrade. Now the materials are copper, constant, and temperature range in degree centigrade are minus 200 degree centigrade to 400 and EMF at 500 degree centigrade in millivolts. So the amount for copper constant and the temperature range is minus 200 to 400 is EMF at 500 degree centigrade is 27.6 millivolt. When we use iron and constant, this ranges of temperature is now 0 to 900 and the EMF at 500 degree centigrade is 27.7. Similarly, there are other materials or alloys or thermocouples which you can check from your screen. So thermocouples can be used for measurement of temperature depending upon the range of temperature to be measured. Proper materials are to be chosen for a thermocouple. If one junction called the cold junction is held at a constant temperature known as the constant temperature, the EMF produced uh, becomes measure of the temperature of the other junction. This is the principle of thermocouple pyrometer. So in our next class, students, we will discuss about bimetals and also we will discuss about soldering metals. So thank you for watching, students.